Hi everybody, it's Dr. Paul in another episode of Ask Your Pediatrician. I thought I would touch on the topic of obesity or being overweight and diabetes. Now this is a huge growing epidemic for all of us who live in the United States and in fact worldwide. And a recent article published highlighted the connection with inflammation. And this is important because with inflammation you get an autoimmune interaction with your pancreas where insulin is made, and this creates this insulin resistance. This is one of the mechanisms. But more importantly, as just a regular person, how can I minimize inflammation, minimize my chances of developing diabetes, or for that matter, becoming overweight, which I personally certainly have struggled with since I hit college. So I just wanted to touch on some of the things you can do. Now realize that there are certain supplements. Our biochemistry is very dependent on some key nutrients that will help with decreasing inflammation. The B complex, B vitamins, B6, B12, and folate are important. Vitamin D is important. So many of us, I would say almost 99% of us, do not have optimal levels of vitamin D. And then fish oil, omega-3s, if you're vegetarian, take flax, ground flax seeds. This is also anti-inflammatory. But actually, we overlook the biggest trigger of inflammation, and that's sugar, artificial sweeteners, and wheat, and for many people, gluten. These are things to be avoided because they just trigger a huge inflammatory response, often a huge insulin response, which then leads to shooting that extra glucose into the cell, creating obesity. You know, 25% of adults over 65 have type 2 diabetes, and 50% of the population is pre-diabetic. That's almost all of us, folks. We have got to watch what we're doing with our diet and with our lifestyle to decrease inflammation and just have that overall health and wellness that you get from doing those few things. I would add to this adequate sleep and exercise, that good nutrition. As always, try to eat whole foods and eat organic to avoid pesticides, and you have a much better chance than average of being healthy, normalizing weight, and having full energy. So parents, I know from personal experience, doing one thing and asking your kids to do another just plain doesn't work. Our kids seem to do what we do. So it is so important as adults. Yes, many of us are struggling with our weight, but we've got to set a good example. So we've got to stay away from the processed carbs and the breads and the pastas and the cookies, crackers, chips, and the candies and the ice cream. And we've got to get back to whole food, real eating, eat at home. If you have to eat out, let's make very good choices. It's hard to eat healthy on the road or eating out in restaurants, and especially fast food. So we've got to set an example of how we eat. We've got to set an example of getting good exercise. Set a good example of getting enough sleep, drinking enough clean, purified water. This won't be easy to make this life change. I started bit by bit with my family. I mean, start off with perhaps you're going to only buy real whole grain bread. We're not just talking wheat bread. We're talking real whole grain, like a Dave's Killer Bread, something like that. And if you've got to get purified water brought into the house, you make that adjustment. If you haven't been exercising, you start making that adjustment. You know, every little thing builds, builds, builds until you're starting to live a healthy lifestyle. And don't be discouraged if you slip up. We all do. I slip up all the time. But get right back on the horse of getting back to your exercise regimen, eating right, and you've got a chance to make a positive impact on your family and your children. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Paul.